What's up, glitches? In today's video, the first story is called The Monster Under My Bed. And then we have 9 more weird, unexplainable stories sent in by fans. So sit back, grab a snack, and let's get weird. Hello, Auntie and fellow glitches. Hi. I've been procrastinating writing this story out of fear that it might return. Are you glitches ready? In fall of 2016, I had been going through a lot emotionally after losing my mom/best friend to cancer a few months prior. I had started feeling a darkness around my house and thought it was just me putting that energy out there until stuff started flying across the room in front of our eyes. My husband, being a non-believer, chopped it up to, oh, it just fell somehow on its own. Me, on the other hand, thought, did I create a poltergeist? It wasn't until a few nights later that a chain of events over 3 nights put it all into full perspective. Night number 1. We go to bed as usual when around 3 a.m. my husband and I are startled awake by our son screaming. We rush into his bedroom only to see him huddled in the corner of his bed, shaking and pointing to the opposite side of the room. Something in me told me not to look, so I just held him while reassuring him. It was just a bad dream. And my husband was saying on repeat, calm down, there's nothing there, calm down, there's nothing there. We finally calm him down and all go back to sleep with no other incidents that night. The next morning, I tried asking my son what he was so scared of, but he wouldn't say much other than, it was just a bad dream, so I left it alone. Night number 2. 3 a.m., we are startled awake again by his screaming. This time, I go alone. I still could not bring myself to look that way, so I just said, whatever you are, leave him alone and get the hell out of our house or I will make you leave. I felt it in my gut as those words left my mouth that I had just challenged something evil. When I got back to bed, I tried explaining to my husband how I felt, and as usual, he played it off, this time to normal kid stuff along with mom guilt. I just agreed, I think, to ease my mind. Night 3. I was struggling to fall asleep, worried if I was going to hear my son screaming again. I decided to watch some TV around midnight to help me fall asleep, plus it lighting up my bedroom helped ease the scared part of me from challenging that thing the night before. I slowly drifted off to sleep, and I guess at some point I dropped my arm off the side of the bed, which gave this thing the opportunity to grab me. I wake up to being yanked out of bed, so I scream for my husband to help me. As I'm being used like a tug-of-war rope between this thing and my husband, I finally look to see what it was. I can honestly say I've never felt so terrified in my life. This thing was not human and never has been. It only had what I can describe as rotten flesh, as skin in tethered clothes, black eyes, animal-like teeth, and long, sharp, claw-like nails. After what felt like an eternity, my husband was able to get me back fully onto the bed and jumped up to turn the lights on to see if someone was hiding underneath our bed somehow. He finally sits down with a confused look and asks, what the hell just happened and what was that thing? Me, still being in shock, couldn't answer his questions. All I could get out is, check on the kids now. I can honestly say in that moment, I don't know what feelings were worse, the experience I just had or knowing that my poor son had already been tortured by this thing for 2 nights prior, all alone. I finally collected my senses and immediately cleansed my house in every way possible, and right after the darkness lifted, along with no more things flying around the house. After a few weeks passed, my husband and I decided to talk about what actually happened that night. He said he heard me yelling and thought that I was rolling off the bed. It wasn't until he grabbed my wrist to pull me back that he realized that something was off. He had moved over just enough to get a better grip and to see what was holding on to, but he ended up seeing what he thought was a shadow of a man half under our bed, pulling me underneath. Instant fear set in, so he grabbed me like a football to get me back into bed again. I was speechless, to say the least. I think mostly because he actually admitted for the first time that he saw something unexplainable and is now a believer-ish. Haha. How can you not be a believer total after that? I did a lot of thinking on how this thing found me/us or even got in my house because as a witch, my house is spiritually locked down like Fort Knox. The only thing I can think of is that something came home with me when I spent the last 10 full days of my mom's life at the hospice center with her because she was in a coma. The nurse told me normally all the patients pass within 24 to 48 hours of getting admitted and that my mom was the first to ever make it to 10 days. As you can imagine, out of 30 rooms, I saw a lot, from people dying all alone without family ever coming to families mourning as their loved ones were being wheeled out. Oh my God, you had a legitimate monster under your bed? That is like one of my worst fears, is something grabbing my foot or my arm and dragging me out of my bed. I cannot believe that you experienced that. And I cannot believe that your husband, even after seeing and feeling that happen, is still a believer-ish. What? I have no idea how that thing got to your house. It had to have come home with you. That's the only thing I can think of. Something had to have attached itself to you and come home with you. But sounds like you got it out, and I really, really hope that you did. That was such a scary story. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thank you so much for sharing your story. This one is called I Think I Dated Joe Black. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi. Sorry this might be long, but I keep thinking about it. I am open to ideas. Please let me know. In 2004-2005, I was an exchange student to the US, meaning I came from Europe and went to school in the US for a year in order to improve my English and get to know the culture. As many exchange students do, I lived in a very small community, roughly around 6,000 people. During the first week, I met this boy and his name was Blake. He asked me out to the movies that Friday. He came to my house, picked me up, and we went to the movies and had some fast food with me. That was all very exciting for me. This was my first official date. I didn't live with an exchange family, as many do. However, I lived with a single woman who had a daughter who was older than me and had already gone to college. So the lady I lived with was a bit protective of me being so young and in a foreign country. She obviously interviewed Blake thoroughly and made sure his intentions were right. We were 16 or 17 at the time. My relationship with Blake never progressed to something romantic, but during the time I was on exchange, he became a good friend. He would come pick me up from school and we would hang out. When I didn't know what to do during boring breaks on holidays, he would drag me along to his family or take me out on his farm to go see the animals. When I was homesick, he would sometimes console me. He was just an all-around good guy. Honestly, the kind I wish for my son to have as a friend. When my stay came to an end, I was really sad to leave Blake. Not because I suddenly had to say goodbye to my boyfriend, but because he just became a really good friend. The kind of friend that you wish that you'd have. The day I got my yearbook, he signed it. Unfortunately, we didn't stay in touch much after that due to life circumstances. After I returned home, I became very sick and I was in the hospital for almost a year. Coincidentally, about 5 years ago, I met a girl who, as it turns out, I went to high school with in the US. This could have been my Glitch in the Matrix story as well. She was about 2 years younger than me. I'm not quite sure if she was a freshman or sophomore. I was a junior. However, she did grow up and go to college near the town where I used to live and go to school in. Naturally, when we started working together, we started to gossip about the good old times and what everybody became and how things are. Eventually, we wound up on the subject of Blake. I told her about him and I asked her what happened to him. I wondered if he's married and if he has children. She looked at me funny. At first, I couldn't explain the look. She then goes on to tell me that she doesn't know anybody by that name, and I thought maybe I got the name wrong. It's been a long time. I haven't spoke to him in a very long time. Maybe I misremembered his name? I didn't think much of it. Plus, she was younger, so maybe she doesn't know him because it wasn't the same age bracket. I went onto Facebook and LinkedIn. I couldn't find anybody by the name I remembered. Not someone who could have been my classmate or maybe a year or two older by that name. I have to admit that I was stopped before going down the rabbit hole because of something at work. I forgot about that day and my somewhat manic search. Best believe I couldn't stop thinking about it. A few weeks go by and my mom calls and asks me to clear out some boxes. She still keeps some of my stuff at her house in boxes. Guess what I found? My old high school yearbook from the US. Remembering the conversation I had with my coworker, I thought I'd check out Blake's photo and see what his name actually was. I checked the whole yearbook. I couldn't find his photo. Eventually, I even asked my brother, my biological brother, to double check. My brother couldn't find it either. I know Blake had signed my yearbook. I know it had been signed in bright green ink. I remember it so distinctly because at the time he was constantly wearing a t-shirt and the pen color was almost the same color as the words Green Day written on the t-shirt. I thought I was going crazy. I thought maybe I had made it up. I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe somebody else signed the yearbook in this color and I misattributed it. Nobody else signed my yearbook in a green color. Eventually, I called my host family. Now, my former sister, so to speak, had gotten married and the woman I lived with had become a grandma. I still call every year for Christmas and check up on them. I asked the lady that hosted me if she remembered Blake. She did. I asked her if she remembered where he lived. She remembered where he lived because she had picked me up there once. However, my, so to speak, sister inserted herself into the conversation and was a little shook. During college, she had been helping out driving an ice cream truck to make some money. Hence, she knew every edge of this town. The lady I had lived with, her mother, and I described where Blake had lived. My sister said that where we described had been a farm that's run down for years. Again, I thought maybe she just had the time frame wrong. After all, it's been 20 years. Blake could have easily been up and left right out of high school and never returned. His parents were a bit older, I think, but I wasn't great at judging ages at that point in my life. So it could easily be that he left the day he graduated, went somewhere else, and never returned, all while his parents passed. Best believe I was shivering. The human mind plays tricks, I thought, and maybe in her memory it's been ages, but it's only been about 10 years or so. I asked my sister to go there. She eventually drove by there and took some photos and sent them to me. The house, the barn, and everything that's on the farm were all weathered and look like they are falling apart. The photos show an old farmhouse which has not been lived in for many, many years. There is no sign of him ever living. My sister thought maybe she would find some old mail or something. She didn't. This could easily be because he picked it up and left. He was an only child. Again, I Googled him afterwards. I even called the school where we both went and asked if they had that name on their records. Nothing. It drove me crazy for months. Best believe I have so many questions. Why is nobody else remembering him? Why is a lady that I lived with remembering him? Why is he gone from a yearbook? Again, I think if I had the last name wrong, I would have seen a photo and recognized the person in your book. I'm 100% sure his first name was Blake. Even if he went by his middle name for some odd reason, I would have seen his picture in the yearbook. But then again, I couldn't find him in any club, neither FFA or football or art club or whatever else I'm missing. I can't find him in the portrait sections in any class. Who was that person? I don't have very many memories of his parents, but from my European eyes, they had a very large stove in their kitchen. I think it was one of those very expensive ones. Also, the stove was bright red. To me, coming from Europe, this was so distinctly that I remember nothing about their house other than the kitchen. The last name I remembered has come up in the area, and it has come up with farming. Because it drove me so crazy, I actually called one of the farms with that last name and asked about the family. None of the people I have called have ever said, oh yeah, that's my uncle or that's my aunt, but they since moved, or something along the lines of, we're not related, but they do have the same name. We get the confusion all the time. Nothing like that. About a week ago, I finally got the guts to call someone I have been pointed to in my research. This person is a registered attorney by the same last name, someone who has nothing to do with farming. I called him and I asked if he knows anything about the people. I wound up actually telling him the whole story. He couldn't live the mystery of Blake, but he did tell me that the farm I mentioned hasn't been operated on for 40 years after something dramatic happened in the family. So he doesn't think that the farm was working at the time I would have been living there. I about threw up after hearing that. I went on to ask him if I could have gotten the address wrong because during the conversation, he had told me that he had lived his whole life in this town. I know I went out to the farm so I could essentially pet animals, so if this person doesn't exist, what about the animals? Have I made them up too? Am I psychotic? Even if the person is a fraud, where are the animals? Even if a person had something sinister in mind with me, why would he keep the animals? I mean, this farm that I was on had horses, cows, dogs, chickens. If this person wanted to harm me, why would you keep so many animals? I even went back to Google Earth and tried to find a place. The farm that my sister was on is the only farm that has the buildings that I remember. The attorney was kind enough to check who the deed for the land was signed to. It's the family name that I remembered, but he doesn't remember anybody by the name of Blake. He does remember, and this is where it gets strange, his brother having a brief relationship with a woman that had the same first name as Blake's mother, but the attorney thinks that the relationship never went anywhere. So he doesn't think that his brother had gotten to marry the woman, Blake's potential mother, in a whirlwind romance, and she could have had a kid with another man and went out to use his brother's last name. He can't ask his brother because he passed away from cancer about 5 years ago. That could explain the last name and why no one with that last name knows him. But why isn't anyone remembering him? Why is his picture gone from my 20-year-old printed and signed yearbook? Why is the farm run down? I don't think I went out with a ghost. I don't think I befriended a ghost. Honestly, if you ask me, I think it was some type of guardian angel, because still thinking about him so many years later, his friendship and his kindness have carried me through so many terrible things. Just knowing that someone could care about me that much helped me get through a lot of it. I hope you enjoyed this story. Thank you for reading. I thought there was going to be some point in here where we were going to figure this out, but we never figured it out. None of this makes sense to me. And I would say that maybe because you were in the hospital and you got sick, right? And very sick for like a whole year. So I could call quantum immortality and say that you passed away in the hospital and that you jumped into a very similar timeline. However, if that's the case, why does the mother that you stayed with remember the kid and remember taking you to the house? But no one else remembers. He's not in the yearbook. Is it possible that she jumped timelines with you? Is it possible that you did hang out with a ghost? But then the animals would also have to be spirits too. Who? Oh my goodness. I'm not really sure. This was a very interesting story. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you so much for sharing your story. This one is called Ball of Light on New Year's Eve. Video deletes itself. Hello, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I'm from the Netherlands, so excuse my English. Hello, Netherlands. On New Year's Eve after 12 a.m., I was 14 at the time, I was filming a video. There were a lot of people in our home. I could make videos with my phone. It was my first one that could make videos. On my screen, I saw a ball of light coming through the door. I thought it was just a glitch in the film, so I looked it with my own eyes, and it was there. The party was at my house. I called to the guests and my family and I said, look over there. They all went, wow, what is that? We could not believe it. It was a perfect round ball, really thick in color. The ball moved really fast and after almost 1 minute, it went through the wall and it was gone. I got it on video, I thought. The ball was green, but also pink and purple with all colors of the rainbow. Really beautiful. I looked at the video like 100 times, I think. When I got back to school, I told my friends. They did not believe me. But I had the video. After class, I would show it. So after class, I took my phone. It was a flip phone. I opened it and then it went all by itself. I could not stop the phone. It opens menu. I was pushed the red button, but nothing happened. We saw it scrolling to gallery. I kept pushing the red button and it screamed, no. It scrolled to videos. I was pushing the red button like an idiot now, still screaming, no. And yes, it scrolled to the video of the ball, scrolled to the trash can and asked if it wants to be deleted. I was still pushing the red button and all by itself, it pushed yes. The video was gone. My friends thought nothing of it. They did not believe me in the first place. But my fam and the guests, we have no words. It was really strange and I still don't understand it. You had to navigate through this phone with the arrow buttons. The red button was to abort all. I still can't believe that I have seen something like this happen with my own eyes. This is why I always know there is more to this world and some people don't want us to have proof of that. Okay, when you said that the video deleted itself, I thought you were just going to say you took a video of this thing that you saw and the video is gone and you don't know how it got deleted, but you physically watched it get deleted. You physically watched something pressing the buttons on your phone to delete that video? That is wild. That is wild. What did you see? I wonder what that ball of light was. Was it some sort of alien or some sort of entity or being from another dimension? How did it come and start pushing all the buttons on your phone to delete the video? This is like literally crazy. I need to hear what everyone thinks in the comments. Please let me know. What a great story. Thank you so much for sharing. This one is called Creepy Hospital Ghost Whisper. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I've been watching your videos on TikTok since you started and I love you. I love you too. Oh, gee. Woo. I got my own story for you and I hope you get to read it. It's a tad bit long, but I know that we love the long ones. LOL. For context, I live in Cape Town, South Africa, and I am currently a medical student. I know med school works differently in the US as you have to do an undergraduate degree first and then get into med school, but here, medicine is an undergraduate degree that you can start straight out of high school, and it only takes 6 years for you to become a doctor. The first 3 years are mainly theory-based with a ton of lectures, practicals, and teachings on clinical skills, but we hardly interact with patients. The last 3 years, however, are what we call clinical years, and that's when we do clinical rotations in various hospitals and clinics around the city, getting trained by doctors, consultants, etc. So we get a lot of clinical practice until we qualify. I hope I explained that well. You did. Anyway, I'm in my 4th year, my first year of clinical practice, and I am currently doing my obstetrics rotation at one of the oldest hospitals in the country. It was built in the 1800s, so you can just imagine there being a number of ghost encounters here. A common one being a ghost nurse dressed in white with white eyes who is seen in the wee hours of the morning helping patients in the wards before disappearing. It's like she doesn't know that she's not alive anymore, so she still clocks in for her night shift, LOL. Oh my goodness, that is so cute, a little helpful nurse ghost. During my rotation, we have 24-hour calls roughly twice a week, and it's usually 2 to 3 students working with the rest of the hospital staff in the labor wards per night. Since it's a teaching hospital, we have a student center with a lounge area, a bathroom, a mini kitchen, and a computer lab for when we need to take a break or do some studying in between monitoring patients and delivering babies. When I was on call 2 weeks ago, I decided to take a break alone in the student center to have something to eat, but I eventually decided to take a nap as it was around 2 a.m. I was just about to fall asleep when I suddenly heard a woman's voice loudly whisper, "Die!" right against my ear. I quickly opened my eyes, heart pounding as I looked around to see no one in the student center with me, but I could still feel the sensation of the whisper in my ear and it sent chills down my spine. I've never gotten up so fast to go back to the ward, told my best friend, and we both refused to take breaks alone in the student center since. I know I could not have been dreaming because I hadn't even fallen asleep yet, and the sensation and pressure of the whisper against my ear was still there when I opened my eyes, so I am super freaked out. I've never experienced anything strange at that hospital since, but it still scares me thinking about it. Thankfully, I'm continuing the rest of my rotation somewhere else, so I don't have to be back there anytime soon. It might have been one of the ghosts in the hospital, but I hope they all leave me the fuck alone so I can get this degree in peace, since I might be placed at this hospital again for another rotation in the next 2 years before I graduate. I've attached a snap I took of one of the many class photos framed on the walls leading to the student center so you can get a better sense of how creepy and old the hospital is. Okay, and here is the picture. This is one of the old, oh my God, look how old this class is. You can just tell by the quality of the picture and their looks. They're like little uniforms. Oh my God. This picture definitely gives off some vibes, man. I'm going to assume that creepy whisper had to come from a spirit in the hospital. Like, I don't know why it's telling you to die, though. It's like really scary. Ooh, I would not like that. Let me know what you guys thought about this one in the comments, and thank you so much for sharing this creepy story. The title of the story is literally just an alien emoji. Hi, Auntie Matrix Mama. Hi, love your page and discussions. Here's one of my stories of encountering aliens. In the late 1980s, I went to this guy's house that my friend knew. There wasn't much furniture to speak of, so we sat in a circle on the floor, crisscross applesauce in his living room. After a bit of banter, small talk, etc., this guy opened up about a book that he was writing exposing the government to these alien projects that he was a part of. Before I get into some of what he said and what I can remember, I want you to know how skeptical I was, so I kept asking him hard questions to try to make him slip up, but he never did. He told us that the government does indeed have UFO spacecrafts along with living aliens. He said that their favorite foods are strawberry yogurt and almonds and some other things that I can't remember. He also told us that Earth made the aliens' skin extremely dry. They would boil children, yes, human kids, and the aliens would use the fat from it as lotion for their skin, which apparently was the only thing that would work. It made me think about all the little kids that go missing and are never found. What? That can't be true. This can't be true. He also told us that only a select few can actually see UFOs. He gave this example. If 25 people standing in a group all together and they're looking up at the exact same spot in the sky, only 5 of those 25 people are able to see the UFO above them. He gave a reason why, but unfortunately, again, I can't quite remember it. Sorry. Oh my God. I need the reasons. That's really weird. Like, why? Like, why? I need to know why. Another thing was, if you wear a ring or a necklace or any type of metallic jewelry, and it's something that you wear all the time, when you're not wearing it or you forget to put it on or something, does it make you feel a little off or lost or out of sorts? Yes, it does. He said that's because aliens use your jewelry as transmitters and receivers of information, and so the aliens can keep track of you almost like a GPS signal or a Find My Phone app. Again, all the time I am asking him questions, hard questions, and trying to throw him off to see if he's lying, but he never wavered once, ever. We talked to him for hours, and at one point, I swear we were all levitating about an inch off the floor, and this guy's face kept glitching from this human face to that of a gray, large-eyed alien face. The book he was writing, he had hidden under the wood floorboards somewhere in his house. He also had been contacted by numerous government and law enforcement agents threatening him to hand over his book or there would be consequences. Well, about 1 to 2 weeks go by and I went back to that guy's house because I had a lot more questions. But when I got there, the whole house was boarded up. All the windows and all of the doors, and there were bullet holes all over the outside walls of the house. Come to find out later that the SWAT team had come within a week following our visit and unalived him. This was never posted in any newspaper, police blotter, nothing, nowhere. I can't remember what city it was in, but it was in Los Angeles County area in California. Side note, I feel that I have been abducted at least twice, and this guy was able to confirm it. I know there's more, but this is what I can remember for now. It was a long time ago. Thank you, Jessica, for giving us a platform to talk about this crazy kind of stuff. This is all super crazy. The babies thing is really weird. The jewelry thing is very interesting. Strawberry yogurt and almonds. Why did his face keep glitching? Was he actually an alien and he wasn't human and he was just disguised as a human? If that were true, why would an alien be writing a book to expose aliens? I don't know, man. This is really weird and very interesting if this stuff is true. I wish that we had more information. I completely believe, though, that he was unalived because of sharing this information, which is so scary. I need to know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know. And thank you so much for sharing this story. This one is called The Black Dress Glitch and the Receipt. Hello. Hi. These are actually two different stories, but it wasn't until I started watching your content that I thought maybe I wasn't crazy and maybe these were glitches or whatever. First, I want to start off by saying that I am a very sensitive person, sensitive to the paranormal. I always know when I'm in a home with spirits in it. I'm afraid to see anything like that, and so usually I'm scared if they are there. I've had so many experiences with the paranormal since I was a child, I'm 47 now, that I could write a book on it. Anyway, for the reason that I emailed, the first one is about a black dress. I bought this dress one summer. It's black, cotton, basic, but it has pockets, and I loved it. I live in Arizona, so anything light and cotton in the summer is a must. I'd wear it around the house, to the store, etc. Nothing fancy, just a black cotton dress. This was the summer of 2021. During the last week of June that year, I was going to be in Boston for a week for work. My best friend and I decided to go to Sedona for the week before I flew out to Boston Sunday night, and she flew home to LA on Sunday night. If you're not familiar with Sedona, look it up. Very spiritual place. Maybe that's why this happened. Since I wouldn't be going home before going to the airport from Sedona, I packed a giant suitcase with stuff for Sedona and everything I needed for my time in Boston, including that black dress. I specifically remember putting it in the suitcase and thinking it would be perfect for Monday afternoon in Boston, as I didn't have to be at work and I could just walk around the city. It was my first time there. While in Sedona, I picked that dress up in my suitcase a few different times while looking for other articles of clothing. That dress was with me. It was in my suitcase. Fast forward to Monday afternoon. I had taken a red-eye flight Sunday and arrived in Boston around 5 a.m. I was exhausted. I worked for a few hours and then my boss told me to go out and see the city. I get to the hotel, shower, and go to my suitcase to grab the black dress. It's not in there. I have a lot of black clothing, and I took each item out one at a time several times, and it wasn't there. I even went so far as to taking each item out and speaking out loud what I was holding. So I would say, "This is a black shirt," set it aside, and grab the next item. It's not in there. I figured I must have accidentally left it in the hotel room in Sedona and was bummed, but honestly, it was like a $15 dress, and I could get another one. I don't think anything more of it while I'm in Boston. When I get home, I went and got a new one. I got it at Walmart, LOL, so it was easy to find another. A week or so goes by. I've worn the new dress, thrown it in the laundry, and grabbed the clothes from my suitcase, still no black dress, and the ones from the hamper that need to be washed. Yes, I wait forever to unpack, don't judge. When I'm putting my clothes away, I pick up my new black dress and hang it up. Again, I have so much black clothing, so when I picked up an item towards the end, it could have been anything. I thought maybe it was those overalls that were all the hype at the time, or a skirt. Nope. It was my black dress. I remember shaking my head like, what? Because I just put it on a hanger and in the closet. I run to the closet and sure enough, the black dress is there. Now I have two. I swear to you, I packed it. I grabbed it from my suitcase in Sedona and then it vanished. I cannot explain it to this day. I still have both black dresses. I don't know how, friend, but somehow that black dress glitched right back to your house. That is so crazy. The next story made me cry when it happened. My initial thought was that my stepdad, he passed in 2012, found this so I'd stop losing my mind. Okay, little backstory. I have what I call a chaos book. It's an 8x11 journal that I bought from the drugstore. I started it in 2012, the same month of my stepdad's birthday and a few months before he died. By this time, it was coming up on his birthday and 10 years since he passed. I was finally finishing this chaos book. In this book, I guess you can think of it kind of like a scrapbook, but I'd also write in it. It's a whole chaotic nightmare into my thoughts, my happiness. I glued sentimental things in it, like cards, napkins of places I've been, things of people that have given me, pictures, just whatever. There were no rules to the chaos book. Anyway, I'm finishing the book on my desk and I want to glue in a receipt from a restaurant my now ex-boyfriend and I went to. On the receipt, we were writing little notes to each other, drawing hearts, all sorts of corny shit, and it was a good memory for me, so I kept the receipt and it was in my wallet folded up. Except, it's not there. I look through everything. Not there. I look through other wallets. Not there. This will sound silly, but I was really upset that I couldn't find it. After about 2 hours, no joke, looking for it, I give up. I sit down at my desk to do some work for a while, and after about a minute or two, I notice a pen on top of a piece of paper to my left. I pick up the paper, unfold it, and it's the receipt. I immediately burst into tears. For some reason, I just knew it was my stepdad helping me. I was so close to him. I'm the one who discovered him when he died, and it was a very traumatic experience. I used to dream of him a lot, but that kind of slowed down over the years. It was coming up on his birthday when this happened, and I always think of him a lot around then. I just knew it was him. I've told people that story, and some people tell me the receipt was there the whole time. It wasn't. Or that I forgot that I found it in my wallet and I put it on my desk. Or that I imagined it. Some people believe me and say it was him helping me, saying hello, or even playing a prank on me because that's something that he would do. What do you think? Thanks for listening. Thanks for your content. You're amazing. You're amazing. First of all, I want to say that a chaos book is such a good idea. I have no idea where you got that idea or the name, but that sounds so perfect. Like, what a great little way to keep like thoughts and keepsakes and all those things with like no order to it. So you don't have to feel like pressured to do something a certain way. I really like that. I might start a chaos book. Second of all, I think that if you feel that it was your stepdad, then it was probably your stepdad. You would know best. And it absolutely could have been your stepdad. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. And thank you so much for sharing your stories. This one is called My Polish Angel. Hi. I absolutely love your videos and how open you are to the strange. I've never told anyone the story except my husband, and I feel that you have built this amazing, comfortable outlet that maybe others could share their stories if similar. Trigger warning though, it does speak on angels and child loss. I have a Polish guardian angel. I see her repeatedly throughout my life. She often comes when traumatic event is taking place, but she always shows up. It started back in about 2006. I worked at a small town grocery store as a cashier. A tiny blonde-haired, blue-eyed, fair-skinned woman came in my checkout line, maybe 5 kids in tow behind her, all fairly young. It was chaotic, to say the least. She was trying to keep her kids in line, but it was hard to understand because she was not speaking English. Her total came up and she was $5 short. She was embarrassed and trying to communicate with me, and I just covered the difference for her. She grabbed my hand and thanked me over and over. It was a simple thing to me, but I realized it was a very big deal to her. She explained that they had just moved from Poland and she was overwhelmed, and my kindness meant a great deal to her. This is where it gets kind of strange. I didn't see her again for 2 years. In 2008, my then boyfriend, now husband, was in an accident at work. He was taken to a bigger hospital about an hour away. While dealing with his hospital stay, I ran into her at a gas station midway. She was standing behind me in line. I didn't even think to say hi. She felt so familiar, but there's no way that she'd remember me. She did. She asked me if I was okay. I told her vaguely what was going on. She told me not to worry. I had to know it would be okay. In 2010, my husband was in a critical accident. He had a traumatic brain injury and was in a coma. I was in the chapel at the hospital pleading with any powers that be to please save him. She came in. She just put her hand on my shoulder and offered to pray with me. He pulled through 2 weeks later. We went through a lot of rehabilitation, but he made it. Life was good. Things were great. In 2015, we became pregnant for the first time. At our 20-week scan, we found out that our baby had passed. It was one of the hardest times of my life. I took some time off from work, and on my first day back, I stopped to get a coffee, and she was there, just standing behind me in line. When I grabbed my coffee and turned around, she gave me the biggest hug and rubbed my belly. She said, "No baby yet, but it will happen." How did she know? In 2023, I lost my dad. I was making arrangements with family and had to stop at a store to grab some things. I walked and did my shopping, and she just kind of collided with me. We started small talk, and she just knew that something was wrong. Yet again, told me that she would pray for me. I've seen her a few more times in between, and each time it's when something really hard is going on. She always is just there to assure me that everything will be okay and that she will pray for me. The part that's so weird is I never get her name. She's so comforting and always just asks. As soon as I see her, I feel relief, like it will actually be okay because she says so. About 2 weeks ago, I ran into her. I now have 2 kids and things are well. She ran up to me and hugged me and told me how beautiful my boys were and how blessed I am. I couldn't stop thinking, why did I run into her? Nothing is going on. Is she my Polish guardian angel or just a comforting coincidence? Wow, this was such a good story. I think she's absolutely either a guardian angel or some sort of guide or someone that's here to help you through this life. I think that's so beautiful and wonderful that she just keeps showing up and that she makes you feel better. I do say I would be worried, though, myself, if now I ran into her again, but nothing bad's going on. Maybe this was kind of like her goodbye because maybe she got you through all the hard things that were really going to happen in your life. And maybe everything's going to be like good for a really, really long time now. So she just wanted to tell you that she was happy about it for you. I don't know, but I totally believe that she is definitely a guardian angel, a guide, some sort of higher dimensional being that is sent here to watch over you. And I love this story. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you so much for sharing. This one is called Talking to Dead People. Hello. Hi. Super excited to share this with you. I have many stories, but this is the most amazing one. Not a glitch, but supernatural for sure. When my oldest daughter was just 2 years old, she was already very smart, creative, and had a big imagination. She was my only child at the time. My husband worked a lot as a grocery store manager. He had recently been transferred to a store about 2 hours away from our hometown. We rented a house in a small beach community to be close to his new job. I was familiar with this town because my grandparents had lived there briefly when I was a little girl. I remember visiting them in this town until my grandpa passed away when I was around 13 years old, so of course my husband and daughter never met him. Being 2 hours away from extended family and my husband working all the time left my daughter and I alone together a lot. We were besties. I was a stay-at-home mom and embraced it with all of my heart. We would go out on long walks, play on the beach, go to mommy and me time at the library, play at the park, and most of all, we spent hours playing make-believe with my daughter's dolls, Barbies, Polly Pockets, etc. We would make them talk to each other and create a whole world of make-believe. One day we were sitting on her bedroom floor playing Barbies. I needed to start dinner for her, so I told her she could keep playing and I would get dinner going and we would play again after. I could hear her continuing to play and talk to her Barbie dolls. I was cooking away and listening to her tell her Barbies, "Time for dinner, let's cook." So cute. But soon her make-believe conversation turned into something different. I could hear my daughter answering questions, like I was hearing a one-sided conversation. She was telling someone about her cousin being potty trained. She was talking about her favorite color. She would also be answering yes or no, and then go on about her cousins and what they liked to do or the fun things that she liked. I heard her ask, "What happened? How did you get hurt?" At this point, I was feeling very concerned. I walked into my daughter's room and I asked, "What are you doing? Who are you talking to?" She says, "Papa." My daughter called my dad Papa, so I was like, "Oh, are you pretending Papa G is here?" She says, "No, the Papa who used to live here." I froze. I had chills all over. I said, "In this house?" She said, "No, in Los Osos," the name of the town that we were in. Now remember, she had never met my grandpa. He died when I was little. I had never told her about him or that he previously lived in this town that we are now in. She was only 2. Why would I tell her any of that? Of course, it's possible that she heard me tell my husband about my grandparents living in this town, but I don't think so, and this next part gets even crazier. I said, "My grandpa?" She says, "Yes, he's with a little boy named Johnny who got hurt when he was on his bike." I stood there in shock. I was so scared. I was dizzy and I felt like I was going to faint. Years ago, my older cousin's son, Johnny, was hit by a car when he was 9 and died. This happened several years prior when I was just a teenager. I had never told my daughter about this. My husband and I never talk about this. There is no way on this earth my daughter would have known this. I know for a fact that my daughter was talking to my grandpa, who was also my cousin's grandpa, and my cousin's son. They were together in the afterlife. Oh my God, this was such a good one. I love that. I love that she was just chatting with your grandpa. There's no way that she's like making up questions other people are asking her and then answering them at the same time. And there's no way that she would have known that information. What a beautiful story. I know that it felt really scary and I get that, but what a beautiful story. What a beautiful thing that she was connecting with him and that he was there, that they were both there. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments, and thank you so much for sharing this beautiful story. This one is called The Guy from Downstairs. Hi, Auntie. Hi. Greetings from Bulgaria. Hello, Bulgaria. I love you. I love you too. My story might be a long one, so grab a drink and get comfortable. When I was about 7, we moved to our brand new home. The old house that was on the lot that we bought, we absolutely tore it down and we built our home from scratch. Everything was great. I had my own room and I was the happiest. Just a quick overview of the house. 2 floors. Second floor was my bedroom, my brother's bedroom, a shared balcony, and a shared bathroom. Everything else was downstairs, including my parents' bedroom, etc. I was about 9 to 10 years old when one night after 10 p.m., I heard my name being called from the bottom of the stairs. Please note the stairs were not straight. They had a curve, which is not allowing me or my brother to see downstairs directly. This is usually how either my mom, dad, or brother were getting my attention rather than going all the way up to tell me something or to simply to tell me to get downstairs for some reason. So I heard my full name, which is very odd to me because everyone was referring to me by my nickname at the time. My first thought was that I was in trouble and that's why they were calling me this way. I responded immediately with yes, but nobody said anything. I heard my name again. I said yes. More annoyed this time, and again, no answer. The calling stopped and I did not bother to go down. The next morning, nobody said anything, and I thought whatever they needed from me was not relevant anymore. It's the next night. Same thing again. We all said goodnight. My brother went out with his friends and I went in my room. I hear the man's voice calling me again, my full name. The previous night, I did not even question who it was, either my dad or my brother. I responded with a yes and nothing. It repeated at least 4 times, which made me so mad that I got up and I opened my door to hear better as usual and yelled, "Yes?" Silence. I closed the door and went to bed. For a second, I thought my bro was playing with me, but he was away. Did not think too much and went to sleep. The next morning, I was waiting for someone to say something. Nothing. I started to question, okay, even if it was my brother, my parents are downstairs and would wake up to tell him to stop. If it was my dad, he would mention something. If it was nobody, my parents should have heard me yelling yes, but nobody said anything. I freaked out, but I tried to brush it off as I was not fully understanding what this might be. I was 10 to 11 years old at the time. The next time this happened, I was terrified because even if the voice sounded familiar, I felt pure danger. It started yelling my name and pausing for my response. I was freaking out. I never responded again. This thing kept happening for at least 2 years. Not every night, but I was feeling like it was testing me if I would do what it wanted me to do. Some nights the calling was going for several hours without stopping. I vividly remember one night I was crying because it wouldn't stop, and I put my fingers in my ears to stop hearing it, and it really stopped. I moved my fingers away, keep calling my name, never giving up for hours. This made me realize that the voice is not in my head because it wouldn't stop if I was covering my ears. Someone was really calling me from downstairs. My whole existence was telling me that this someone wants me to go downstairs and would want to hurt me / push me to fall on the stairs. I did not tell anyone because I was afraid, since I'm the only one hearing it so loud and clear for the whole night long, my parents will think that I'm crazy. This someone was terrorizing me for a little over 2 years before he gave up, which I hope is for good. We lived there for 10 years total, so I hope it was not planning on returning, but I could never know. During this period of time, I started sleepwalking. My brother found me in random places in the house and was walking beside me because when he told my parents, they warned him not to wake me up. He said when he was home, he would be so quiet just to make sure that I am not getting anywhere. And if he hears a noise, he would come and follow along with me to make sure that I was safe. Mind you, we had a balcony, and once he found me there, oh my God. I really believe that since he was always beside me, whoever that was couldn't hurt me. Only once I caught myself sleepwalking. I opened my eyes and saw my reflection in the bathroom mirror, and my feet were ice cold. I looked around and thought I came to pee and was so sleepy that I did not remember. I guess my brain was really trying to protect me. I found out something very interesting about the old couple that we bought the house from when I was about 18 years old. We were talking with my mom, and she casually decided to tell me that when we bought the house, we had an arrangement with them to let them live for about 5 to 6 months, as it was late October and was not a great time to move or do any rebuilding approaching the winter season. When spring rolled around, they were planning to move to the city, several hours away, where the lady had relatives that she wanted to spend her last years with and wanted to be close by. The guy was not very happy and did not want to move, but what can he do? She was calling the shots. It was the day before the official moving day. Their whole life is loaded onto a truck, and they are leaving early in the morning. And guess what? The guy died that night. The lady moved alone, and the body was transferred as well, as she wanted to be close to his grave and to also be buried there. I guess the guy never left our property. My only question was, why hurt me? What would do that? I guess I will never know. And to be honest, I do not want to know. I apologize for the long story. Thank you for making it this far. To this day, I get goosebumps when telling it. It took me a few years after my mom's cute story that she kept for so long to open up and tell my family what was happening to me. I only told my best friend outside my family, so all of you guys should be honored. We are honored, and we believe you. So that 100,000 million % sounds like a mimic to me. That 100,000 million % sounds like a mimic. That is like exactly what a mimic will do. You absolutely had a mimic in your house. As far as hurting you, I don't actually know whatever happens with a mimic, right? I hear stories about mimics all the time. People, the mimic, mimicking people's voices, sometimes mimicking their physical appearance, but never have I heard what happens, like why do they do it? I've never heard of someone getting hurt by one or killed by one, and maybe that's because they didn't live to tell the tale. I don't know. But that's a great question. Does anybody know? Like, what is the goal? What's a mimic's goal? Is it just to scare you? I'm so sorry that you lived with that for 2 whole years. Oh my God, that must have been absolutely terrible. That was a crazy story. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thank you so much for sharing your story. This one is called Cat Scratch, Cat Scratch. So a few days ago, I went to go visit my friend who lives in London. I live in a small city, and when I went to see her, we had planned to stay at her friend's house, Lily, for Lily's birthday. There are 4 people at her house: me, my friend, Willow, Lily, and another girl called Summer. We get bored and decide to play some spooky games in Lily's garden. I suggest a game called Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board, where you invite spirits to come and help lift the subject up with just 2 fingers. Summer offers to be the subject, and we invite the spirits to come help us. However, forget to say goodbye to the spirits when we are done. I actually did not know that you had to do that with Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board. I didn't know you had to close out the game by saying goodbye. That's good to know. We move on to our next game, Cat Scratch, which is where you read a poem about a dead cat, and when you're done, you're supposed to have a bright red scratch on your back. I have never heard of that one in my life. So Summer again lies on the floor, and when we finish, of course, there is a bright red scratch on Summer's back. Not even a couple seconds after we've checked Summer's back, she receives a call. Someone meows down the phone. Stop it. Crapping our pants, we run upstairs and make Lily's parents promise that they weren't the ones that called. None of Lily's neighbors had Summer's number either, so it could not have been them. When we arrive at Lily's room, we make sure all of the windows and doors are shut. Then the lights start flashing. Lily's light had never had any problems like this before, and none of the other lights in the house were acting like this. Lily's parents and brother even came into the room when the lights were flashing, so they could not have been them turning on and off the electricity. Us thinking it's nothing, we check all the windows and doors again, and there it is, the window wide open. There were even black fingerprints on the window that were never there before. Around 40 minutes later, Willow spots a scratch on my back and Lily's, and we see one on her too. Me and Willow decided we were not going to stay the night there and went back to her house. When I returned home, back in my hometown, I was cleaning out my brother's room and the lights start flashing. I turn it off and on, but it keeps flashing. When I finally say, please leave me alone, the light stops flashing. Okay, and then there's a picture of the phone. This was the number that came when it called and did the meow. Was this weird number. Actually, I don't even know if this is weird because this person lives in the UK, it seems like, and I don't live in the UK, I live in the US. So UK friends, is this a normal phone number? And then this is the picture of the fingerprints by the window. Ooh. I've never heard of that game Cat Scratch. Have you guys? Please let me know because I'm very interested. And I also did not know that you needed to close out and say goodbye to the spirits when you do light as a feather, stiff as a board. But you obviously invited something in and it was definitely messing with you. I think it's actually kind of funny that the phone call was a meow. Someone meowed. I wonder if it was an actual cat from Cat Scratch, which I feel like it probably wasn't, or if it was like a spirit messing with you and saying meow because they were watching you play Cat Scratch. I don't really know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. But thank you so much for sharing your story. That concludes our creepy compilation for today. If you enjoyed these stories and you want to see more in the future, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. But if you want to keep it going right now, you can check out this video or this playlist.